Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Denise, and today I will be discussing tricuspid versus mitral performance of cylindrical porcine small intestinal submucosa valves. Heart valves help us maintain proper direction of blood flow. However, valves are subject to diseases such as congenital valve defects, valve calcification, and valve degeneration, resulting in stenosis, regurgitation, and reduced cardiac output. Due to limited treatment options available, research is developing heart valves with regenerative capacities. Porcine small intestinal submucosa, or PSIS, is an available option that is clinically used for cardiovascular applications. CorMatrix Cardiovascular has developed cylindrical, stentless, and seamless PSIS valves in various sizes that are currently undergoing FDA trials, and they can be used as an alternative valve replacement option. We tested the hydrodynamic performances of the cylindrical PSIS valves. To conduct the test, a 26mm PSIS cylindrical valve was sutured to a custom 3D printed valve holder along 3 posts on the distal end. The annulus ring was sutured along the circumference and sealed with a 3D printed cap to prevent backflow through the suture seams. Assessment criteria include regurgitation percentage, transvalvular pressure when the valve is in the open state, volumetric flow through the valve, and the effective orifice area. The cylindrical PSIS valve functions were then compared to clinically available bileaflet mechanical valve and bioprosthetic valves of a similar diameter. The valves were tested in both mitral and tricuspid conditions in the Vivitro pulse duplicator. Since mitral and tricuspid valves are located in the same position in the Vivitro system, all testing was done with 1 suturing and 1 mounting. The Vivitro system consists of an atrium, a ventricle, and an aortic load assembly, and the valves were placed in the respective mitral and tricuspid locations. The system uses 0.9% saline solution. The volumetric flow and pressure were measured using a flow probe and pressure transducers. Testing conditions in the tricuspid and mitral slightly varies. An overall heart rate of 70 beats per minute was used for both conditions. A stroke volume of 50 milliliter was used in the tricuspid and 71 milliliters was used in the mitral. The mean pulmonary pressure was 15 millimeters mercury in the tricuspid and mean arterial pressure was 100 millimeters mercury in the mitral. And both valves were subject to a 35% systolic, 65% diastolic pulsatile flow. An N equals to 4 PSIS valves were tested in both mitral and tricuspid positions, and the clinically available mechanical and bioprosthetic valves were used as controls. The graphs show typical flow and pressure values in the tricuspid and mitral positions over 1 complete cardiac cycle. We can see that the overall flow and pressure environments in the mitral are much higher than the tricuspid position. Using the clinically available mechanical and bioprosthetic valves as controls for comparison, the PSIS valves show a relatively similar performance in both the tricuspid and mitral positions. However, there is an overall slightly higher leakage under the mitral conditions, and this may be mainly due to a higher pressure in the mitral compared to the tricuspid environment. Though based on literature values that define significant stenosis, the PSIS valves are not stenotic under tricuspid or mitral conditions. The goal of this study is to compare the mitral and tricuspid performances of PSIS valves. Our results show clinically acceptable hydrodynamic performance of cylindrical PSIS valves with comparable delta P, QRMS, and EOA to clinically available mechanical and bioprosthetic valves. The cylindrical PSIS valve from CorMatrix shows a greater EOA and smaller pressure drop, but a larger regurgitation percentage in the mitral compared to tricuspid conditions. Hence, transitioning the PSIS valve from its current tricuspid applications to the mitral side appears feasible, with a minor concern in regurgitation, though not clinically remarkable. The overall performance of PSIS and mechanical valves are similar in both mitral and tricuspid positions, while the bioprosthetic valve showed a better performance in the tricuspid position. Thank you for your attention, and thank you, Heart Valve Society 2021.